Well, hello there, everybody. Thank you for taking your time out today to join me for a very special webinar on why being a PMP makes you more valuable. My name is Ashley Hunt. So good to see you guys. And if you look at the top of the chat, there is a download with a guide that I put together, and it goes over a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today. But you also have exam tips. You also have links to some of the areas as well as some things to know for the exam. So it's good to see everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. And we do have some really cool things to cover today. I mean, the very first thing out of the gate is that the PMP, the Project Management Professional Certification, is probably one of the most prestigious non-technical certifications in the world. And I saw earlier in the chat, somebody was like, I didn't even know that there was a certification for project management. There absolutely is. And it's through the Project Management Institute. But let's just jump right in. Well, what's in it for you? Well, at the top of the heap, you make more money. Nothing wrong with that, right? But there's a lot more that goes into it than that. I mean, it is a very difficult exam. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But yeah, you get that accomplishment, right? You get that accomplishment of being certified. And so how many of you in my group, and just chat in, you can just why or no, yes or no. How many of you have gotten a certification in something in the past? And you can just chat in and let me know, and that gives me an idea how many of you have gotten certified. Good afternoon. Have gotten certified, because you know if you've taken like a big Cisco exam, or ITIL, or at the Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. Too many acronyms, right? Too many acronyms to count. Well, hopefully you'll have one more. You get that accomplishment of being certified. And the other thing about it is, and I'm a big proponent of, yes, get certified, it's great. But at the same time, just having letters after your name isn't enough, right? The ability to be able to have as many best practices as you possibly can to utilize. Yes, there are lots of yeses coming in. That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, better best practices. So you guys know, you want to be able to leave a class and be able to get your certification and immediately be able to utilize some of those best practices. So the Project Management Institute put out the Project Management Professional, which has changed a lot over the years. I'm sure a lot of you guys that are in this webinar have probably heard that the Project Management Institute is changing up the exam a little bit. So we're going to talk about that here in just a bit. But how many of you work with Agile? Do I have any people out there that have Agile projects running, maybe Scrum or Extreme Programming or something like that? Yeah, you started. And so the ability to be able to tailor your project and your strategy using both predictive or waterfall types of project management as well as Agile. So there's some yeses coming in. That gives you the ability to tailor your best practices to your unique projects, right? Sometimes we need predictive because we know what the end result is going to be. And sometimes we need a tailored approach. But right now, tailoring is probably the number one skill that a project manager needs to have. You also, once you get your PMP cert, and those of you that are certified in other things, you're probably aware that in a lot of cases, we have to maintain our certification with continuing education. And the PMP is no different. Every 3 years, you have to maintain your certification with 60 professional development units. Sounds like a lot. You get some just for doing your job. But the nice thing about it is that being lifelong learners, as I'm sure all of you are, it gives you the opportunity to branch out into other things. I know I have some folks in here that have attended classes with me, like the Green Belt and so on. And so that gives you the ability to continue to build on your skill sets. Plus performance-driven objectives are always good. They're always good, but the deal is with this certification for you guys is it's the number one non-technical certification in the world. And so there's a lot of clout that comes with that on your resume. So what's in it for your organization? A lot of times when you're looking at, getting certifications and so on, sometimes your organization is saying, hey, yeah, go out, we'll support you, we'll do this. And the reason why they do that is because some organizations absolutely have to have certified project managers. Their customers, based on their contracts, are like, no, we need people that are certified. You see that a lot in government organizations, government contractors, and so on. And if we are running our projects, now, there's never a perfect project. Trust me, I know. But at some point, when you have better best practices, things start to move a little more smoothly. And that could save your organization millions, maybe even billions with a B, every single year, because we're providing more value faster. regardless of what type of frameworks you're using, we're pushing out better quality results and higher performing teams. And maybe we're just a little bit more motivated because our projects are going well and our organization is supporting us in that initiative. So sometimes people will say that the PMP certification class is a little bit like an MBA program. And the reason why that is because we cover so many different aspects of areas of knowledge: scope, schedule, cost, procurement, quality, risk, and so on. And so if you look at the MBA program, just obviously not an exhaustive list, but on the analytical side, we're talking about accounting. We're talking about economics, qualitative and quantitative research, statistics. On the functional side, you've got that financial management, human resource management, operations, maybe even marketing. On the ethics side, we talk about business ethics, corporate social responsibility, and so on. So if you were going to attend an MBA class, it would look a lot like your PMP class. And again, not an exhaustive list, but we do cover both sides of project management, predictive and agile. And the Project Management Institute actually partnered with the Agile Alliance to create the Agile Practice Guide. That's for those of you guys, and a lot of people are saying, yeah, we use a little bit of Agile, but maybe not so much. We still have predictive types of end results, meaning we can plan for them in advance. We know if we're building a bicycle, we're not going to have a motorcycle at the end of this. And so there's a lot of analytical information that goes into both planning and executing a project. And so cost estimations, budgeting, scheduling, organizational structures and behaviors, and how to define project scope and look at procurement and risk. Then on the functional side, we spend a lot of time actually, on human resource development, team motivation. In fact, later on today in this webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about motivation, which is kind of a fun topic anyway, but it also gives you the opportunity to see how am I motivated? And that can actually lead you to how do I study for a big exam like this, because you can tell there's so much information that we cover. And a lot of times folks in my class are like, oh, it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose. And it's true. It's a ton of information. Not all of it you're going to need for every single project, right? I mean, how many of you work with procurement? Just chat in and let me know. You can just say Y or N. A lot of times people are like, yeah, I definitely do work on the procurement side of things. And others are like, no, I mean, maybe we have a statement of work or something like that we have to work with in order to, do the projects. But procurement might not be an area where you have a lot of experience. And so sometimes when you're going through these different topics, the analytical side, the functional side, communications, stakeholder engagement, all sorts of things. Yep, so there's a lot. So there are yeses and there are nos coming in. So it just depends on your experience and your projects, what more you can pull from a class like this. Quality assurance, quality control, and obviously motivating a team, working with operations, how your organization is structured may very well impact your ability or lack thereof to actually work as a full-blown project manager. So we talk about those different organizational structures in such a way where you're like, okay, that's my organizational structure. These are the things that I'm going to be able to utilize on my current projects. And then we also have ethics. There is a code of ethics and professional conduct that PMPs need to abide by. And we go through that, same thing, business ethics, corporate responsibility, and so on. So obviously not an exhaustive list, but there's a lot of correlation between having an MBA and having a PMP. So if you ever thought, hey, I'd like to get my MBA, you can come to the PMP class and get that in-depth information and then go forth and get your MBA. So what exactly is a project? It's one of those things where you start looking at, how the project lifecycle works. And in this case, we go through all 5 process groups of initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and controlling, and closing the project or phase. Anybody working in a phase and John's asking, what if the organization has no structure? Trust me, it does. It might not feel like it does, but when we go through it, a lot of times people are like, oh, yeah, that sounds like my type of organization. And even in an agile environment, there is still some kind of structure, hierarchical or otherwise, that your organization has that it uses to manage its business. But as far as a project is concerned, a lot of times people look at projects versus operations. Operations is continuous. It's like sales and marketing and HR. It's those areas that support the business. Whereas in projects, we're running through, whether it's a phase-oriented type of project or we're going from the beginning to end, we're traveling through this life cycle. And it is a cycle. It's not necessarily a straight line, but it's definitely an overlap of planning, pre-planning, and putting together a project management plan that we think is going to work. And as we begin to execute, we find out if it's actually working. And if it's not, then we have to go back and update and change. And that's just welcome to project management, right? But when you start looking at what an actual project is, it's temporary. Might not feel like it all the time. It's unique, meaning we're trying to produce a unique output. And sometimes if you look at your projects and you think, well, a lot of the projects that I work on are similar. That's okay. They're still unique because in some cases you're dealing with different stakeholders. You're dealing with maybe different scope of work, maybe something like that makes it a tad different from everything else that you've worked on in the past. It also has a definitive beginning and an end. Again, might not feel like it ever ends, but it does. And right now, the world is in the midst of a massive project. How many of you guys are working from home right now? Everybody? Just chat in and let me know, because a lot of what it took to get everybody from a co-located office in some cases to everybody working from home, that's a massive project. Massive. And so if we look at some of these things that are going on right now today, setting up work from a home office, yes, lots of, yeah. I mean, that's a project. How many of you are in IT and you were responsible for making everybody's work from home experience pretty good, right? Is it working out? Getting everybody's systems online? Remote help desks, like, oh, I forgot my password, I can't VPN in. Yeah, working from home. There's a lot of you. And a lot of that is really translated into project management experience. Bob, you're in IT. I would imagine there are a lot of IT folks. Yep, yeah. So you guys, I'm sure, did an awesome job getting everything rolled out. It's never perfect. There's always risk. Right? There's always risk involved in projects, but definitely it was a big task. I'm sure it's a big project, right? And so keeping those systems up and running and getting everybody to work from home might feel like operations. Those are actual projects. How about cybersecurity? I see a lot of ITs in here. So yeah, how about cybersecurity worries with people working from home? I bet that's scary. Cybersecurity is at the top of my risk register for pretty much every single project. Fully remote in one day, Jim, that's awesome. Look, you guys are doing amazing. And that is project management. Sometimes it comes at you really fast. And something like this, where in a response to a pandemic, we all have to scramble and get things done. Yeah, fishing is way up and your office is your couch. I hope it's a comfortable one. But yeah, overall, those are types of projects. And the entire world right now, all of us, Zoom security, cybersecurity is so worrisome. Right, so risk management, another thing that we go through very, very in depth. A lot of the conversations that I'm having with people in class is all about these things that you're chatting in about. What's security? What do I need to do? How do I analyze what's going on and try and either mitigate it or just get rid of it completely? Yeah, so you guys we're all in the same boat. Yeah, absolutely. And when you have professional challenges like that, having, I guess, tools in your toolkit, if you will forgive the cliche, as far as business is concerned, it gives you the opportunity to pick and choose what's going to work for whatever projects you happen to be working on. And according to the Project Management Institute, they're the ones that host the Project Management Professional. They've been around since 1969. So they've definitely, they know what they're doing, and there have been several iterations throughout the years and updates to the project management body of knowledge, which is basically where all the best practices are found. So that's changed. We're now currently in our 6th edition, and you might have heard rumors that they're updating to the 7th edition here fairly soon. And that is true. And the reason is because the world is changing. And they realize that not every single project is a one size fits all, right? What you guys are doing on your projects might differ from what I need to do on my projects. And so we have this real world, perfect world type of contingent thing going on. And so we need to be able to pick and choose our skill sets, how we implement, how we execute. And so professional challenges mean more professional opportunities, which is the reason why I'm guessing that you guys attended this today. What can I do to improve my skills so things like this aren't so stressful? They're always going to be stressful. Projects are stressful and so on. But remaining motivated is definitely a good thing. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a snippet. Those of you that have taken classes with me before, either in Project Plus or ACP, even the Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, that we talk about motivational theories. And one, they're fun. They're fun to talk about. And two, it's also a good way to take a look and say to yourselves, well, what am I motivated by? What is something that really gets me up every single day and, ready to work and all of that? But totally how you study can be traced back to how you're motivated. So we're going to take a look at a theory that you guys are probably familiar with. How many of you have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Anybody heard of that? It's been around for a long time. In fact, the first time I heard of this, I was in psychology class. I think it was in high school. But if you've heard of it, let me know. You might not have heard my explanation of it, but Abraham Maslow was a psychologist and basically was doing a study of human behavior. And one of the things that he found out, there's some yeses coming in. One of the things that he recognized is that all humans have core needs that must be met before they can be properly motivated. And the first core need is physiological, right? Air, food, water. Obviously, those things have to be met before we can start looking above that. But safety, right? Security, freedom from harm. Yeah, definitely psych class. You remember that? You having flashbacks to high school? Me too. But by the way, it's on the PMP exam, right? So it's definitely something that we talk about and has stood the test of time. Safety is the second one, freedom from harm and all of that. But love, belonging, relationships. Those are the three core human needs. Once those things are met, we can start working on things like self-esteem. And reaching the pinnacle of Maslow's was self-actualization. But let me put this into more of like a pop culture type of thing. How many of you guys have seen the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks? Spoiler alert from like 10 plus years ago. But the interesting thing about that movie is it's almost an exact replica of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so very first thing, if you haven't seen it, here's the cliff notes. But basically, Tom Hanks's character is a project manager. Yeah, so a lot of you have seen it. He's a project manager. He's got the fiance, he's got the nice house, he's got the good job. Yeah, me too. And so basically, he works for FedEx. He's a project manager for FedEx, and it's the holidays, and they send him on this business trip, and they put him on an airplane, and it crashes into the ocean, right? And so there's this scene where he's trying to get out of this airplane, and all he can think about is getting to the surface, air, right? So when he gets to the surface and washes up on the beach and recognizes he's the only survivor, he's like, I need to find someplace to stay safe until somebody comes to save me. Right? So he tries to build a tent and all of that, but inevitably he finds a cave, right? And he's safe. He learns how to build fire. I build fire, right? And so he's got that safety, at least for the time being, until he gets rescued. But he doesn't get rescued. So time passes and he gets very, very lonely. And I saw some people already chatting in. Wilson, my laptops are my Wilson. Oh, my Wilson, the volleyball. And so he would sit in the cave next to the fire and argue with Wilson. Don't talk back to me, Wilson. He had how humans have to have some interaction, love and belonging. So you just watch that on Monday. Yeah, it's still out there. But those were the three core needs. And so many years passed, he taught himself how to fish and basically survive in an environment where nobody else was. But he finally said, look, if I'm going to get off this island, I have to do it myself. So he builds a raft and he puts, the water and the coconuts and Wilson on the raft and starts rowing out to sea. And the island's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. He's like, yes, I did it. And then Wilson falls overboard, and I cry every time, every single time. But he keeps on going, right? And he finally gets rescued, self-esteem, boom. He'd also put on that raft some of the packages. So when he got home, self-actualization to Maslow was doing for others without expecting anything in return. So when we do charity work or something like that, or we donate our time, that is self-actualization. And so when he gets home, everything's changed. Fiance's remarried, house is gone, job is gone. Everybody thought he was dead, right? And so he has this decision. And in the movie, there's this visual crossroads. He can go this way or he can go this way. And so he chooses self-actualization to go deliver those packages. But get this, he was at Esteem before he got on that airplane and went all the way down. So humans travel, around Maslow's hierarchy of needs throughout our lives, depending upon what's going on. So yeah, there you go. That's the first one. The second one, though, is David McClelland's expectancy theory. And he created this theory in 1961. Based on his theory, he posited that human beings are motivated by three core needs: the need for achievement, the need for power, and the need for affiliation. We have all three of these things going on, but one is much more prevalent than the other. And he said, doesn't matter where you grew up or what generation you're from. These are all they. Now, this is a good lead in to one, if you're managing a team of people. Are you guys managing people? Especially now, it's tough to keep people, motivated and ready to go. But it's also good for identifying in yourself what motivates you. And so I buy into McClelland's theory pretty much more than any of the others that we talk about. But people who have a need for achievement tend to be low risk. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have people. They tend to be low risk. They don't necessarily want to take on something that they don't think they will achieve. And so when they have that need for achievement, they prefer to work alone in a lot of cases. They're more commission-based, something like that, And they also, if it's a team member, or if it's you, if you recognize this in you, they're the folks that are saying things like, please send me to training. Please provide me a checklist so I know exactly what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. Please give me the barriers. Give me, the what I can't cross so that I can bounce between them and achieve my goals. So if you've got people on your team that have a need for achievement, that's how you motivate them. You send them to training or you give them whatever they need to be the most successful that they can be. Now, people have a need for power fall under two different categories, according to McClelland. He basically said there's institutional power people, and then there's personal power people. Now, McClelland was not too keen on the personal power people because they're the ones that are going to do whatever they're going to do in order to be successful, and it doesn't matter how they get there. But institutional power people seek higher positions. Like a lot of you, I'm sure, are in management or above or are attempting to get to that point. So if you are motivated by institutional power, that means you want to climb the corporate ladder. If you have somebody on your team who's like that, we can help them. We can give them the skills, send them to management training, and so on. And some people are fearful of doing that if they're in a management position because they're like, well, they could take my job. But on the flip side, you can't necessarily move up unless somebody's there to take your place. Business owner? Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. Somebody who owns their own business, maybe entrepreneurs, things like that. And so with that institutional power, a lot of that is coming from the need to get promoted. All right, now the last one is the need for affiliation. These are people who just need to be around people. Like they're the people that come into work every day and they're like, how was your weekend? Wow, I love that color on you. Let me set up the conference room. I brought bagels. So people who have a need for affiliation do not like to work by themselves. Like, do not put these people in a basement with a red stapler. Anybody get that? Anybody get that reference? If you did, chat it in. But basically, they like to work with people. How do you motivate them? You give them praise. You give them the back pat. You give them the high five. You say, you guys are doing awesome. Yeah, people really like you. They really like to work with you. And so that's what they need to feel content. Office Space, yeah. Office Space is the reference. Good. Most people usually get that, but it's kind of an old movie reference too. Need more office space. Where's my Where's my red stapler? But where do you guys think you fall on this? I mean, I don't ever like to put people in like boxes, but if you had to pick one, what would it be? Would it be the need for achievement, the need for power, or the need for affiliation? What do you guys think? It's funny because people often, if they don't know me very well, they say, oh, you're affiliation oriented. I'm actually not. I'm more achievement oriented than affiliation oriented. Need for achievement. Yeah, Mikey's saying achievement. Anybody out? Yeah, lots of achievement. Yeah. See, I kind of had a feeling because you guys are in this webinar. So there you go. So that need for achievement and getting any certification, not even just the PMP, but any certification, achievement and knowledge. Ooh, I like that, Luke. Yeah, I like that. Achievement. Perfect. So there you go. I mean, that's just a taste of some of the things that we talk about, but it's also good to reflect. And you're a little bit of all of them. Christina says, yeah, I think we all are. And then there's one that just sticks out the most. But learning styles. Your power, money. Show me the money. Show me the money. But learning styles are also interesting. And I don't know, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but not very many people go out and do a learning styles quiz online, right? But if you go out to the website, learning-styles-online.com, it's fascinating. So before this webinar, I went out and I took the test just to see, and I was actually surprised at what my results are. Now, it's a combination of all of these as well, but some stick out more than others. Some people are more visual. They like pictures, they like images. The brain can process images 60,000 times faster than text. So people who are more visual in nature, they want charts, they want graphs. They might be the people who, when they're studying or are putting up Post-it notes all over the place. Yeah, it's in leadership training. That's awesome. Yeah, personality and learning style quiz. And I think it's a really, really great team building exercise, either just for like communication skills or how people learn, what work styles they have, because that gives us a glimpse or an ability to better understand as a team how people work. So that's good. Auditory or musical, like in some cases, they want to just listen. So if you listen to podcasts or audiobooks, things like that, then that's probably closer to your learning style. Verbal, maybe you'd like to sit down and read through the PMBOK guide or read through an exam prep book or something like that. Physical prefers using body, hand, sense of touch. In fact, I often recommend that in people that are physical, pacing. Pacing or working out and listening to the class and so on, those are the types of things that really help them incorporate what they've learned and get it to just stick. Logical. We do get some people that prefer using logic and reason and systems that are in place. And the nice thing about the best practices for those of you that are in more of the logical space is that there's formulas. First of all, other people are like, math. But people who enjoy math, they're formulas. And they're very specific inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs that we go through that logical folks pick up the cadence of that. And they're like, okay, that puzzle's starting to get pieced together. I'm starting to see how things work. I was actually surprised that social popped up on my learning style as one of the larger. Like, I always looked at it as a solitary thing because when I'm studying for an exam, I'm studying by myself. But I learned so much from my classes that I get that. I get that social interpersonal thing because you guys, when you chat in and you tell me about what your projects are, or what issues you're having that are coming up and so on, I learn so much about your industries and then I'm able to pass that on to other people. So I can see where that might be the case. But, once you know what your learning styles are, it helps to prepare you a little bit more. Because I got to tell you, this PMP exam is very different from a Cisco exam or any other highly technical type of exam. You like logical and solitary? That's good, Glenn. Yeah, and it's good to identify that and go, okay, well, that makes sense. I need to use math and I need to use reason and I need to be by myself and I need to be quiet, so that I can study and absorb the information. Same, Kenny? Yeah, and the other thing is that our classes at Stormwind are 2 hours. So you really have the opportunity to, after that 2 hours of class, if you have time, you can sit and try and logic together what it is that you just learned in a solitary fashion. So it sounds like there's a lot of you that are resonating with that as well. But the PMP exam is very difficult. And I don't say that to scare you. I usually tell my classes the first day, it's the most difficult non-technical certification in the world. And I don't say that to scare you. I say that to be honest and to give you some context around why it's so important to study and take practice exams. You can't just come out of my PMP class or anyone's PMP class. Doesn't matter what they tell you. You can't walk out of that class and immediately go take the exam and pass it. It's too bulky. How many of you are already familiar with what goes into the PMP exam and all of that? What's the first training course recommended for PMP? It would be the PMP exam prep class. And I'll talk about absolutely what the requirements are. And then if you don't meet the requirements for the PMP, there's a certified associate in project management, and that's a separate class, but those would be the jumping off points. But I've got a ton of classes like project fundamentals for the accidental project manager. Like if you're brand new to project management and maybe don't have the experience yet, you're like, I just want to learn the best practices. Oh, hi, Bianca. Took my class in August. Yeah, so you're gaining some of that information, and either way, and this is where all the burning questions come into play. You keep taking courses until they open testing again. Oh, I've got some good news for you, Karen. We're going to talk about that right now because I get a lot of these burning questions from people either via email or in class, and I want to make sure that you guys have the information. If you jumped into the chat a little bit after, there's a link and we can pop that in there again. But I put together just an overview of all the information that we're covering here, plus the links and where to go and how to study and what are some things you absolutely have to memorize, exam tips, things like that. So it's a really, really good document, and you also will get like the certification tracks and what goes into all of that. So that should help answer some of those questions as well. Oh, you were scheduled in March, but it was canceled. Yeah. So what do I need to do to get my PMP? First of all, very first thing is it depends. It depends on your education level. If you have a bachelor's degree, college degree, or higher, you need 3 years of leading and directing projects. That doesn't mean you have the title of a project manager. You don't have to have that. It just literally means that you have to run projects. So if you're a project manager, it gives you the ability to count that experience. But again, you could be an IT manager running projects. So that counts as well. If you are a high school graduate or GED, you need 5 years of experience leading and directing projects. So it's a little bit more. You also need 35 hours of project management education. That's where we come in, right? We have over 35 hours. It's like 53 hours that you can utilize, and that gives you the opportunity to study your own way. And I'll talk about that more here in just a moment. But what if you don't have enough experience? The Certified Associate in Project Management is the associate degree to the bachelor's degree of the PMP. And basically, a high school diploma and 23 hours of project management education gets it. And so our CAPM class is well over that, so you would get the education credits that you needed to sit the exam. And so what PMI is doing is they're making it easier now for CAPMers to get their PMP so that you're paving a path inevitably to the PMP certification. And basically what that means is the CAPM expires after 5 years. Nobody wants to take it again. And by that point, you have enough experience to roll that into your PMP. So that's good. CAPM leads into that. Yeah, the CAPM absolutely does lead into that. Yep, the hours. You have a master's certificate in PM. How does that equate? It equates to the need 3 years. So basically, it's a bachelor's degree or higher is what you need 3 years for. You need 5 years if you're a high school graduate, GED, associate degree. So that's how that works. But basically, PMI just recently updated a lot of things, right? And so one of those things was, let's try and help project managers get from certified associate in project management to their PMP. But you don't have to take the CAPM if you have the 3 to 5 years of experience and the 35 contact hours of training. And sometimes I get the question, I hear Agile's included. What's the deal with that? And I mentioned early on that the Project Management Institute partnered with the Agile Alliance. This is the first time anything like this has ever happened before. Before it was just, we're predictive and over there's Agile. But they recognize that there is no one size fits all project management best practice. We have to look at our projects and say, what's going to work for that? Maybe we're going to do daily stand-up meetings. Maybe we're going to have retrospectives. And so what they did is they incorporated that practice guide on the current version of the PMP exam. Now, here's why I say current version. Because, and we'll talk about COVID and what PMI is doing right now for exams and so on. But the new exam, the 7th edition exam, was supposed to come out in July. And so they pushed everything back, but the new exam is going to be 50% agile and 50% predictive. That new exam launches January 2nd, 2021. The current exam, which I would say if you're planning on doing it, do it before January. The current exam has fewer agile-esque questions. It's more heavily weighted toward that predictive project management, but they definitely, and you're absolutely right, they complement each other and how we manage our projects and so on. So Agile is included. I would say it's probably about 5% of the current exam. And the new exam, it'll be 50-50. It'll be 50% predictive and 50% Agile. So those of you Agile folks out there are like, woohoo, I can get my PMP too, because that applies as well. So the exam is changing. That's why it's changing. And the reason why is typically every 3 or 4 years or so, the Project Management Institute will do what's called a role delineation study. And they push out that study to project managers all over the world. And they say, what are you doing? What types of best practices are you using? And they were getting more and more people who were like, well, we use Agile. We use stand-up meetings, we use retrospectives, we use reviews, we're software development, we're hardware development. And they recognize that, yeah, we need to be able to tailor and have those best practices all in one place, which gives us the ability to do that. Do I have to take the exam to gain value from the class? Not at all. No. In fact, some people are like, I don't really care. I don't really need to get certified, but I just want the best practices. And that's okay. Here's the other thing, guys, that if you take the class and you get the 35 contact hours, they never expire. So if you decided, I don't really want to do it now, and then December rolls around and you're like, wait a second, yes, I do. You don't have to take another class because those credits still count. They'll count toward the new exam as well, but it's going to be so different that I would wait. So if you're thinking, at half agile, half predictive sounds pretty good, I would wait. We're going to have the class and we're going to roll it out and all of that. Mikey's saying, does experience need to have a supervision as a component? Supervision, leading and directing projects is, so yes, you're overseeing the work. You're the one that's interacting with stakeholders and collecting requirements and all of that. So yeah, even though you're not named project manager per se, as long as you're leading and directing projects, helping a help desk set up, getting everybody to work from home, those things count as well. Mikey's saying, I've been seeing several projects a year for the past 15 years, or overseeing. Most of the companies that engage my organization appoint PMPs. I'm taking this course to become officially familiar. They frequently use. However, do I need? No. Not unless your organization wants you to have it. And let's see, does Federal Acquisitions Academy certifications apply? There are a lot of certifications out there that count toward contact hours. In fact, if you went to college and took a project management class, those hours count. So it's really just education in project management. So I know that a lot of federal government organizations absolutely would count toward those contact hours for sure. Retiring soon, certs don't matter as much as knowledge. That's okay. You don't necessarily have to get your certification. A lot of times people will come to the class just to get the best practices, and just to get the templates and just to have conversations with other people that are working on projects themselves and some of the struggles or challenges that they're having. So you'll gain a lot from the class, even if you're not taking certification exams. Event planners have a lot of projects to document. Absolutely, Nikki. Absolutely. Oh, wait, I missed a question. Let me go back here. What score do I need to pass? This is one of those super secret algorithm things that nobody really knows except for PMI. Here's what I can tell you. The exam is pass, fail. And basically, my recommendation is to get a 70% or higher on your practice exams pretty consistently. There are different questions for different people. So when you sit down to take your PMP, you're going to pull in 200 questions. Those 200 questions will be different from somebody else sitting next to you taking the PMP. It's not an adaptive exam. So it's not like, whoo, you don't do math very well. Let's give you more math questions. It doesn't do that, so it's one of those things where it just is, you get what you get. Different questions are weighted differently. If they're more difficult, obviously they're going to weigh more. So it's a pass fail. It's based on target. Are you above target in each one of the process groups: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closure, right? And so if you're above target, that's probably an 80 to 100%. If your target, that's probably 60 to 80, and then below target is anything below that. And so you need to be at least target in almost every single one of the process groups. There are different percentages of questions in each one. And so in that guide that I have too, I also show you, what's on the exam and how it's broken down and all of that. How much is the PMP exam? The PMP, now here's the deal. If you want to save some money, and who doesn't? If you go out to www.pmi.org, you can join the Project Management Institute for 1 year. Okay, for 1 year, and you'll get a free download of the Project Management Body of Knowledge and the Agile Practice Guide plus access. Membership has its benefits, but you'll also get a discount on your exam. So the PMP exam is $555 for non-members, and I believe they're changing the payment structure, so always go out to www.pmi.org and check any updates that they have. Whereas the CAPM is $355. Right now, or $225 with a member. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thanks, Colin. I appreciate my team helping me out in the background. But yeah, so it is an expensive exam. Nobody wants to take it twice. Nobody. And is it multiple choice? I think I heard or saw in the chat. Yes, it is multiple choice. The entire exam right now is multiple choice with only one correct answer. The new exam, they're changing that. So there'll be select all that apply, there'll be drag and drops, there'll be some other things going on in that new exam. But as of right now, yeah, it's just select the best answer. So the best thing that I can say is when you take practice exams, which you will get through this program for sure, you'll have access to Kaplan, and that's all they do is practice exams. And you have, 24/7 access to it and all of that. Plus, I give you just a lot. I give you a lot of practice exams and information. So you'll know when you sit down and start taking your practice exams, how you're doing, how much you need to study, and all of that. But I would shoot for about a 70 to 80% pretty consistently. And that won't happen right out of the gate. Not out of the gate. The first practice exam I took after my PMP class, I got a 35%. And I'm not afraid to tell you that because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you've got to keep studying and keep learning. And why is this the correct answer? And why is that not? So I know some of you absolutely did get your exams canceled. And I apologize for that. But what about COVID-19? So the Project Management Institute, as a result of what's going on, has not only pushed out the new exam to January, but it has also opened up online testing for PMP. That's never, ever, ever happened before. This is something brand new. You could take your CAPM and your ACP online, but never the PMP. So those of you that got rescheduled or your exam got canceled, you can go out to Pearson VUE, and that link is in the download that I gave you. Go out to Pearson VUE, go to their COVID page, and you can actually schedule 24/7, whatever works for your time frames, your exams from home. It's still proctored. You still need a webcam and a microphone and all of that. But basically, they've changed it a little bit. And this is for in-person and online because some Pearson VUE locations are opening. And so you can look on their site. When you go to schedule your exam, you could pick or choose how you want to do it. Most people are like, oh, I'll take it from home. So the way that they've changed it is it used to be the exam's 4 hours long. And it used to be that you had 4 hours. There were no scheduled breaks. You had to do all 200 questions. When you submitted, you submitted. But they changed it now. So you do 100 questions and then you submit. So once you submit, you can't go back and review. But and then they give you a 10-minute break. So you can leave the room during that 10-minute break, but make sure you're back on time. Make sure you're back on time, because otherwise you'll forfeit the second half. After that exam, or after that break, you come back and you take the rest of the exam. Submit it, and you should get your score within 30 seconds. It's the longest 30 seconds probably that I've ever sat through, but you will do that. You'll get it. You'll get your score. The exam's still proctored. There will be a live human being who will need access to your computer so that they can see what's going on. And obviously you'll want to go out to Pearson VUE and check the requirements and make sure that you're good to go. Some people always ask, do I get a calculator? Yes, you'll get an embedded calculator for math questions. And usually they give you scratch paper. In this case, it's going to be an online whiteboard. So you can type in formulas or anything else that you want to remember. So what is class like? Class is a lot like this. Basically, it's highly interactive. I like engaging in conversations. I don't like it to be a monologue. I want it to be a dialogue. And it's definitely comparing what you're learning in class, which is perfect world project management. If we could do everything perfectly, it would be like this. That's what they test on. But that's not the real world. Real world is very different. So I like to compare best practices and also what's going on in the real world. Well, the question is, if I'm not taking the 10-minute break, can I then go back to the first questions for a review and make any changes? No. Nope. They're like, nope, you've done 100. You got to submit. You can cycle back and forth through those questions until you submit and then take the break. But they're splitting it up this way, so it's kind of like everybody's got to do that. If you're a former member, then you would have to re-up your membership to PMI is what they're asking. Class is fun. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, I like to make it fun. I like to make it interactive. I give you a ton of exam tips, but don't think it's just focused on exam. For those of you just trying to get best practices out of things, it's not just about exam tips. It's really about how can I present the content? How can I bring it to life for you? How can I use examples from your industries to provide information in a way that makes sense to what's going on in your day-to-day? Because the information that we're talking about doesn't always align with what you're doing, exam versus real world. So I really like to give those real world tips and so on. Oh, thank you, Nikki. The other thing that I do is after class, so our class for the PMP is 9 sessions actually. We upped it to 9 sessions. So 9 sessions of 2 hours. And about 2 weeks after that class wraps up, I schedule what's called an 11th hour review. And I do this because I don't want to just leave you after class. I don't want to be like, okay, you're done. So am I. I don't do that. So I want to circle back and do an 11th hour review, which essentially is exam tips, what to expect on exam day, how to fill out the dreaded application, and also we do a practice exam, the practice exam. And so we do that together because I want to make sure that, one, if it sparks any questions, I can answer them. And two, because it gives you the opportunity to see why this is the correct answer. And a lot of times we might choose an answer that's based on our day-to-day, and it might not necessarily be the best answer for the project management professional. So we go through that. You've got access to me. I give you templates. I get emails. I've been on the phone with people before they walk into their exam. So you absolutely have full access to me, and not just when the class ends. And I also help with your application. And the application tends to be pretty stressful for folks because you have to individually document your experience, right? And it can go back 8 years. That's a lot of information. So unless you worked on one project that was 3 or 5 years long, you've got to fill out that application. And so ultimately, I will help you do that. Not only will I, there's a tutorial on campus that you can follow, but you can also send me your application before you submit it, and I'll review it and look for any red flags or anything that could potentially get kicked back by the Project Management Institutes. So there's that. The other thing is, why Stormwind? And I'm so happy that I'm seeing some of these chats coming in. They're like, oh, class is fun. And this is, all this stuff. It's so good because that's so important to me. is that your learning experience, your education experience is not only interesting, thought-provoking, but fun. And that's important because I don't know about you, but I learn better when I'm having fun, right? And I'm interacting. So our classes are live and recorded. So this is being recorded as well, so you'll be able to review after the fact. But the course is live but recorded, and that's for on-demanders who maybe can't attend the live class, right? But it's also if you want to go back and review. You're like, session 5, I got pulled out for a meeting and I missed XYZ about risk management. I got to go back and review that again. So you'll be reviewing the actual class that you sat in. So it's not pre-recorded or anything like that. There's over 53 hours of content. And I know that sounds like a lot. You only need 35 hours, right? But at the same time, having the opportunity to pick and choose outside of the class what you need to help you. Like, I just want to review quality. Boom, there's a quality video. I need to know how to do the application. Boom, there's an application video. I have trouble with math. Formulas, mathematically challenged. And so there's a video there, mastering exam formulas, mastering critical path. You have the opportunity to pick and choose Netflix style for what it is that you want to binge on today for project management. Every class that I teach counts toward maintaining your certification. And so that's important to know that after you get your PMP certification, if you decide to do so, or maybe you're just interested, maybe you're like, I want to go to a Six Sigma class. I want to go to your Scrum class. I want to go to working with Kanban boards. I want to take Microsoft Project. Whatever that is, anything that I teach allows you to maintain your certification or just gain information, whatever that is. So if you go out to the project management page at stormandstudios.com, you'll see everything that I teach, and every single one of those things has been approved by the Project Management Institute for credits, either pre-cert or post. Pre-cert, their contact hours. Post-cert, their professional development units. It's semantics, but one is before your exam and one is after. Like I said, you've got access to me whenever you need me. Absolutely. I wrote the book. I've written a couple books, but this is the first one that I've written for specifically the PMP exam. It's going to be published July 10th, so you guys will have access to that. It's for the current exam, and then we're working on updates for the new exam. So once that new exam comes out, the book will be updated so that you have access to the new information. And then application help, the 11th hour review. Yeah, so there's a lot. Been in projects that are following Agile. Why are they saying source code is the documentation? For your application for the ACP, the Agile Certified Practitioner, because the PMI has several exams out there, right? But one of them is the Project Management Institute's Agile Certified Practitioner. And if you already have your PMP, you don't need the general project management experience, but they want to know about you leading and directing Agile projects. So source code isn't necessarily something that you would need to document, but it might be part of your description. Here's what I did on this project. I'm a developer. I ran this project, and source code's in there. The new exam begins on January 2nd, 2021. So December 31st, 2020, this particular version is done. And that's actually been extended from July when it was supposed to change. Thank you, Dan. Ashley, I've completed the Storm and PMP course, and all your inputs really helped. I'm all set to take the PMP at the end of June. Awesome, Canella. I'm so happy to hear that. And thank you for coming back and jumping in. So if you need me, email me, and I'll give you guys my email as well. It's ashley.hunt, ASHLEY.HUNT at stormwindlive.com. So if you have any questions, I can't help with anything, and I'm going to give you some information here of somebody that you can reach out to that can totally help you out. But if you have any questions about content, if you have anything that you need from me, if you want to email me and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this outside of a chat session. Thank you, Colin. There's my email. Next class starts next month. And I know that I do a CAPM class starting on Monday, a Certified Associate in Project Management, and that's 2 weeks, and then the next PMP class begins. So we're back to back with either certification that you might be interested in. Yep, thank you. June 15th, 11 a.m. East Coast Standard Time. So cool. You guys have been so awesome. If you want to know more, please reach out to Mike. He's amazing. He'll totally help you out. I'm here for any kind of support when it comes to content, what you get from the class, what you need from me. And there is no question that you can't ask me. So not only if you're in the middle of the program, people know they can reach out to me whenever. I answer super quickly too. If you're in this webinar and you've ever emailed me, you know that if I'm sitting right there, I will respond immediately, unless it's long-winded, which it could be, but I'll respond as close to immediately as humanly possible. How about the Project Plus? Where does that fall in this? Excellent question, Christina. Project Plus was put out by CompTIA, which is a different organization. Project Plus is PMP CAPM Lite, and it was designed for IT managers. It's based on the 5th edition project management body of knowledge, but it's very similar. If you're more geared toward IT and you want to do the Project Plus and then the PMP, but you wouldn't need to do Project Plus and then PMP. What's the difference between Sigma and PMP? Six Sigma is specific to quality. So Lean Six Sigma, like a green belt or a yellow belt, is specific to quality projects where you're trying to improve the amount of defects that are coming out of your outputs, your product, services, or results. They tend to be part-time, shorter projects to improve how many defects, like Six Sigma equals 3.4 defects per million opportunities. So if you think about manufacturing, 3.4 chocolate chip cookies are defects, that's okay, but everything else. So it's more about improving your process flow to produce something that has fewer defects. So the PMP covers 10 areas of knowledge. First, integration, which takes everything and integrates it together. But we have scope, schedule, cost, quality, we do cover quality in there as well, communications, resource management, risk procurement, and stakeholder engagement. So you get a more well-rounded approach to managing projects, and you can use that on Six Sigma projects as well. Yeah, so there you go. Any other questions that you guys have? I'm going to stick around and answer more questions as they come in. So throw them at me if you want to. Please always feel free to reach out to Mike. He can help you out. And if you have any questions, I'm here for you as well. The Project Management Institute's Agile Certified Practitioner exam, if you're interested in that as well, covers a variety of different frameworks. So it covers Scrum and extreme programming and Crystal methods and feature-driven development and all the best practices that you could utilize on any agile type of project. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad I got you interested. This is a very different experience from a technical type of class. You're able to have conversations and think about how's this going to work for me. Whereas if you're doing something that's Cisco related, it's like, no, you will do this so it works for you. This is much more wide open, and it gives you a lot more creativity. And it gives you the opportunity to have some of those best practices, whether you use them now or not. You definitely have the information. And if you get the cert, then you can prove it. And a lot, like I said, it's the most prestigious certification that's non-technical in the management world. But you guys have been awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking time out of, I'm sure, your very busy days on a Friday especially. I really, really appreciate you joining. Everybody here at Stormwind Studios really appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Don't forget to download the guide. It's at the very top of the chat. If for some reason you didn't get to that before, it's got all the links, all the information, what do you need to get certified, and so on. You can also go out to PMI.org or go out to Pearson VUE. They're the hosts of the exam, so you'll have to go through PMI.org first but you can always gain the information. What's on Monday? Monday is the CAPM, Certified Associate in Project Management. So that would be the springboard to the PMP. Kara says, do you suggest getting Six Sigma certified and your PMP? Yes, but only if your organization does quality improvement types of projects. So if you have a QA, QC department, maybe you have a black belt in your organization that's running those types of projects, then yeah, absolutely. And it's good information to have. And we do cover quite a bit of quality management in the PMP class, but nowhere in depth as running a Six Sigma type of project. question was, is there a career path like stage 1, get Project Plus, then CAPM, then PMP, then Sigma? It depends. I would say if you have the experience to get your PMP, do the PMP. If you don't, pick and choose between Project Plus and CAPM. After the PMP, I would suggest doing the either Lean Six Sigma, Yellow Belt, or Green Belt. The reason I say that is because in the PMP class, we go through a lot of the overview of quality management that will really help you dig in the Six Sigma class. Yeah, exactly. Cisco's completely flexible as long as you do it my way. You don't have to do it our way. That's the beauty of project management. Yep. All right. You guys have any questions, any other questions? I will stick around and answer them. If you got to get out of here, I completely understand. And if so, thank you again for joining. And everybody here at Storm Studios appreciates it. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe out there, and you guys you're crushing it. And I hope I see you in some of my classes sometime very, very soon. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. You stay safe as well. We need you. Okay. It's great to be needed. Yeah, there you go. So excellent job, you guys. Thank you so much again. And what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and answer any questions that come in. But otherwise, get out of here. Have a great rest of your day. And like I said, hopefully I'll see you sometime soon in a class. And PMP, Six Sigma, ACP, CAPM, whatever it is. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me via email. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.